All right, 2-4, day 2, transformations. Okay, we're going to learn one more basic transformation before we move on, and that is our 3 rotations that we do. Okay, we do 3 rotations that we learn. We learn 90, 180, and 270. We don't do 360 because that takes you right back to where you started from. All right, so in my left column, you see the words counterclockwise with a little arrow, because I want to make sure you know the direction of counterclockwise, because every rotation can be assumed to be counterclockwise unless told otherwise. All right? So the rules really kind of go back to our coordinate grid. All right, and the different sections of the coordinate grid and how they are labeled. All right, so we have, this is area 1, and your points in this area are your x is positive and your y is positive. All right, now we go counterclockwise when we label this, okay? This is quadrant 2. Right, counterclockwise. Now this is also a 90-degree turn. So in this area, in this quadrant, your x's are positive. No, sorry. Your x's are negative and your y's are positive. And as you'll see, when, good Lord, there we go. When you have your rule for 90 degrees, the sign that changes is the first one. Okay, so then we have quadrant 3, again counterclockwise. And what happens here? Well, your x is negative, and so is your y. And when we get to our rule, you change the sign of your x and your y. Okay, you change your sign. And finally, we have quadrant 4. So if we were in quadrant 1 and we made a 270-degree turn, how would things change at the end? Well, your x's would be positive and your y's would be negative. And that corresponds with the rule that we are going to be following for our 270, all right? So, 1 and 3, your numbers stay the same. 180 change signs of both. Quadrant 2 and 4, you're actually going to flip your numbers and the sign change is different. But it is linked to the quadrants, okay? If you think about it, if you go back to your quadrants, your rules link to the quadrants, all right? As you work with it, it will make more sense. The biggest thing is learning these rules. All right, so 90 degrees counterclockwise rotation. So if I have a 90-degree counterclockwise rotation, here's my rule. I have the point of my image. It makes a transformation. I flipped my numbers, okay, and my first number, I changed my sign. My new first number. All right, and you'll see that here. So we had 5, 2. We flipped our numbers. The first number then changed signs, and now it's negative. And you'll notice, if you go back to the origin, it makes a right angle. So it is a 90-degree rotation. Okay, the 180. The 180 counterclockwise. The 180 is the one where it really doesn't matter which rotation you're going in, because 180 counterclockwise, 180 clockwise, it ends up in the same spot. But your rule, you have your original coordinate. Your coordinates stay in the numbers stay in the same location. You change the sign of both. And again, my 5, 2 ended up -5, -2. And there's a straight line through the origin from my starting point to my ending point. 180 degrees, 180 degrees, straight line. My last rule is for my 270 counterclockwise rotation. All right, starting points, transformation. I flip my numbers again, but this time my second number I changed my sign. And you can see I flipped my numbers, and my second number had its sign changed. So I went the furthest from my original counterclockwise. I ended up here. Okay, counterclockwise. I ended up here. And I went 270 degrees. All right, let's put this into practice. Okay, let's put this into practice. So let's come back. All right, biggest thing with here, knowing our rule. So when you do this assignment, to show your work, I want you to write your rule to go along. Okay, so my first one, I've got a rotation. I read a rotation. I'm always skimming. Rotation 180, about the origin. All right, so my rule for 180, I have my starting point. I make my transformation, and my 180 rule means my x and y stay in the same location. We're just going to change the sign in front of both. So parallelogram, got 4 vertices, has 4 vertices. Proper grammar would be good. So let's see. F prime, we're going to change the sign in front of both, so -2, -1. G prime, not 6 prime, G prime is -7, -1. H prime, -6, 3. So change the sign in front of both. And then J prime is same sign, change sign. There we go. So change your sign in both. You have your final resting place, or the coordinates of your image of this parallelogram. Let's do it again. All right, so I have some coordinates of a quadrilateral, and what's it want me to do? The vertices, image, 270 rotation. Okay, 270 rotation about the origin. Okay, this one, it doesn't tell you counterclockwise. We assume it's always counterclockwise in my classroom. Okay, unless told otherwise. So we have our original image. All right, and let me see. I am flipping it, I know that. And then, let's see. This one would say, I think it's the x, like it's the negative change. Yep. So it's this one. There we go. I always think about my coordinates to think about how it would shift, rotate, and change. So my first number would still be positive. So let's change these. Okay, J prime. We're going to flip our numbers. So 2, and I'm going to change the sign. K prime. I'm going to flip, change the sign. L prime. I'm going to flip, change the sign. M prime. I'm going to flip, change the sign. All right, there's an assignment. The only one that seemed to trip people up was the one with the lock, the combination lock. Read that one very carefully, because sometimes you're moving counterclockwise, but sometimes it asks you to move clockwise, okay? So read that one very carefully so you catch the movement. All right, good luck.